I'm Chris.
I'm Billy.
And we're here for a series called Christian Essentials, and we're looking at the Psalms.
Specifically, we're going to look at how to use the Psalms to enrich our prayer life. So join in on the conversation.
So we're talking about Psalms of orientation, disorientation, and reorientation. Last time we talked about orientation, and now we're going to talk about Psalms of disorientation. And so I wanted to just ask Billy, what is disorientation?
Yeah, so disorientation for me is just when you're at a time of life where, whether it be apathy, outright pain, anger, whatever it may be, you're feeling out of sorts. You're feeling full of emotions that tend to tax away at your spiritual health or your perceived spiritual health, your happiness, and you really just need an outlet to process that.
It's when your girlfriend dumps you.
Exactly.
It's when you realize you are going to fail the test that you have 2 days from now.
Yeah.
It's the moment when your parents get divorced, or you realize actually that you have no power over alcohol or substances. It's the moment when you're face down on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And there could be a bunch of contributing factors to it. It could be just things that have happened to you that are completely unfair. Disorientation for me is also when I recognize that I have messed up, that I have put myself in a deep, just a bad situation, and there's feelings of both anger and guilt there. Disorientation can manifest in many different methods. So that's kind of what we want to see how the Psalms speak to that, and how that is something that we can take to prayer, right?
Yeah. So Billy's got a couple of examples of the Psalms that he's going to read in a moment, but I just kind of a couple images that you'll see running throughout the 150 Psalms. One is the image of a desert. Things were beautiful and wonderful, and everything was great, and bless the Lord, O God of my salvation. And then it all got taken away. Or moments where the experience of exile, of being in the land, being oriented, everything's going great, and now it's all wiped away.
Yeah.
It's all been taken away. It's been stripped away. I've called, but you're not answering, O God. So those are some of the kind of general themes.
Yeah, that's a deep frustration to speak to, and I'm glad you bring up, is just like, where are you, God? Like, I've
How
reached out
long,
to
O
you.
God?
How long, O Lord? There's a deep frustration there when we take the knowledge of, God loves me, but why isn't he talking to me? If my girlfriend said to me, hypothetical girlfriend said to me,
very hypothetical.
Yeah, very hypothetical. But if a significant other, a mother or father said to you, I love you, but then never spoke to you, like, is that love? So it's good to recognize the tension there and to bring that to God.
I've heard the predominant emotion of the Psalms is inarticulate groaning.
Yeah, right.
So it's that sense of, I don't have the words to get to the reality that I'm experiencing. And I find in some ways the Psalms of disorientation to be some of the most helpful in shaping my soul, in giving shape to really difficult experiences.
Yeah, so let's engage one of those. So Psalm 13 is kind of like the ultimate example to me of a psalm of disorientation. So let's just read right through it. It's 6 verses. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death, and my enemy will say that I have prevailed. My foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. What do you hear in just those brief 6 verses?
The first is just, I've been doing this for a long time and I want it to be over. The second thing is, you've forgotten me. Like you could have remembered me, but you didn't. And then I think the ending to me, from but forward, but I've trusted in your steadfast love, and it creates, so there's a drawing upon, in the experience of disorientation, the memory of a moment when the person was oriented
Mm-hmm.
to God's goodness and love.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I think the psalm gives voice to the pain, but then leads in the direction of a different kind of moment. But it gives space for the disorientation.
Yeah, so again, we always say that it ends with hope and that there's something healthy about that. But ending with hope is not a negligence of the pain, but rather it's an acknowledgement of two very real, real realities. That's redundant, but the pain that is found on earth. That is the pain that is found in our times of anguish, yet also the sheer hope of the joy, the abundance, and the healing that comes with the kingdom to come, and in the ways that kingdom is breaking through here on earth. So again, it's a healthy way of bringing orientation because it brings a hope that is not oblivious, negligent, or tone deaf. It's a hope that is real and substantial because it acknowledges the pain.
You know, St. Augustine, one of the early church fathers, talks about the Psalms as, if you're going to hear them rightly, you should hear them not as your own voice or the voice of someone in the Old Testament, David or one of the prophets or whatever, but rather the voice of Christ, the voice of Jesus. So you see this on the cross where Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
Yeah.
And so the pain of the psalmist, that's direct quote from the Psalms, where Jesus is quoting the Psalms. And so in some ways you could say that the voice of the psalmist, particularly the voice of the pain of the psalmist, is Christ moving through the human experience and the pain to death, and through death to resurrection. So there's something about that to me that also signals that no matter the worst thing that human beings can experience on the planet, that the Psalms kind of give room for that and voice to that, to God in prayer in a psalm of disorientation. And at the same time, because Christ has gone on that journey and prayed those words, we can speak the words of Christ in prayer.
Yeah. So what does that mean for you? I think there's a couple of things I really want to highlight for your prayer life. One, Chris just hit at. That Christ understands the pain and the longing that we experience in fullness. My God, why have you forsaken me? I believe that's Psalm 22 that he's quoting, so go check that out. But above all else, I think of the verse, and I can't name where it is. I'm going to be paraphrasing, but that even when we don't have the words to pray, the Spirit intercedes and hears our groans and our cries. I mean, tears and pain, like the language of pain, the language of tears, that is a language that God is fluent in. So if that is the only language with which you can pray, God hears it. And we see that in the Psalms of disorientation. So whether you are reading Psalm 13 and praying that, and all you can do afterwards is just like cry, God hears that language. And above all else, it just goes back to this simple truth. Take your pain to God. We grow in our faith with God and our relationship with God when we draw closer to Him, no matter what the circumstances may be. Bring that to God, because the scriptures have shown that's part of the journey and a beautiful part of it.
Next, we'll look at Psalms of reorientation.